All aboard! Welcome to the All Aboard podcast. I am your host, Brandon DeFreitas, here with a guest you've seen quite often, Commissioner John Canellis, and Commissioner because this is the Fantasy Baseball DVAOA League. Welcome, Commish.
Thank you, Brandon. Happy to be here. Last time I was on this, you were the commish for our Dynasty League. So
Yep.
now the shoe is on the other foot.
We're here in the towards the end of the spring, which means that the NFL draft has not happened and there's not a whole lot of activity in dynasty football at the moment. So some of us are, scratching that itch with a little bit of baseball here. And this league's been around. It's got to be a long time now. Was it 2015 or 2016? It's been quite some time for us.
2015. I started in 2014 with PWC, met you guys, found out that you had the baseball league. And then it was in early days at that point. It seemed like it was like year 2 or 3 of that league.
I think it was 2. We forgot that first year was just kind of like I don't know. The league was not the same without you. So that's the true launch of the league when we had the draft room with the pizzas. It would always come right at the end of busy season, like would be, just
March 20th.
piling. Yeah. Well, what used to be the end, of course, but and we would gather in a room with pizzas and kick off our newfound freedom with a little bit of baseball.
I know, it was nice when we all worked at P-Dubs. We could all get together because we were all at the office pre-COVID. Yeah. It was such a good bonding activity, essentially. But things have changed. People have left. People work from home now. People have had kids. And, while we've seen a little bit of turnover in the league, I think the core 7 or 8, 9 people have been the same almost those last 6 or 7 years.
It has been
good. I love fantasy baseball. Sometimes I like it more than football, which makes me a nerd, I guess. But this is definitely one of my favorite leagues, regardless of sport.
It's a competitive league, and I know my average finish since like ESPN, you have to renew the league. Since it started tracking and renewing stats on ESPN, I've averaged 10th place of 12. I am annually a bottom feeder. And I think part of that is like fantasy baseball is a marathon. Like fantasy football, you can check once a week. I obviously like football is my number one passion, so I'm always paying attention. Fantasy baseball, though, there's such an advantage if you're just a grinder and you're going to hit the waiver wire every day. You're going to keep it up during the summer. Like that's a big advantage. And like if I get off to a slow start, because I'm the guy who's like really active in April and May, and then June hits and like you don't hear from me for the rest of the season. But I'm hoping to correct that this year. I always say that, but part of it is competitiveness too. If you're like 5 games back at that point, like you can say never surrender, but like I've had some garbage teams. So
it's a daily league. That is what it is. It's every day. You got to check your lineup, even if you're just swapping in a pitcher or a bench hitter or something. And we have daily acquisitions. So this is definitely an intense league for very active owners. We have a lot of pretty savvy fantasy managers in here. So it's also the most challenging league that I'm in for sure.
It's super competitive, and you throw a bunch of accountants into a room, and like we've had to change the rules. We have rules put in because of specific strategies that were like figured out and loopholes that were created. Plenty of rules for, I don't know if he happens to listen, but if Josh Brown watches this, he hasn't been in the league for 5 years. He's the most talked about owner still, because he would find a loophole every year that would just piss everyone off.
I know. And none of us individually are dramatic, but we always stumble into drama somehow, pretty much for that reason, that everybody's trying to game something. And it's interesting because the fantasy baseball analytic community is kind of started by guys like us, accountants, finance, actuary people. And now we're all like numbers people. So we look at it through this different lens of like strategy, game theory, numbers, instead of just like the sport. And I think that contributes to it, but also makes this league awesome.
Yeah.
So it's a good league. It shrunk from 12 to 10 teams this year, which hurts a little bit. But one of those owners was kind of on the fritz for a few years, Crawfish. He was dragging his feet and doing it for the team. And then we have
Which we appreciated.
co-managers. Yeah,
We appreciated it.
Crawford being a team player like he always is. Good guy. But the magic was gone. And then the Travers Brett co-manager, which I think is the first time we've ever had co-managers.
It is,
league.
yeah.
But I think the heart and soul of the league is still here. And we've already gotten off to a good start. Every day, 4 or 5 ad drops. People are all over it. So
I think from my perspective, as someone who's like, I don't think I'm one of the better baseball owners in the league, it's helped me build a more competitive squad because there's better players on waivers is what I'm trying to say. So like if you screw up your draft, I feel like not to throw someone on the butt. Tam had some bad draft picks at the end of his draft this year. And then in the first week, he made some great ad drops, and I feel like he's rebuilt his team. So I do think that 10 teams has helped with that. It's not as much of a battle to fill your roster with startable players.
and his strength is the in-season free agent ads. He just knocks it out every year. He always gets 1 or 2 impact bats. And so yeah, like doing that helps him, but it also helps everybody else.
Yeah.
And there's no bad teams in any 10-man league, even football, but especially in baseball and in the categories format where you can be creative with what players provide what. I think it'll provide for a better competition. It's good.
I do want to make I know what we're going to do today is we're going to get in and do a little draft review. But before that, I want to go on a little bit of a rant, Commish, about something that irks me. And this isn't just fantasy baseball, it's all fab leagues. There are certain owners, Mark DeMellon, who like will sit on their fab and then like half the time they don't even use all their fab. And they just like, it's like they care more about getting value for their dollar than they do about actually using the resource. And it drives me nuts. It's like, to me, like, if you don't use your fab, whatever you didn't use, it's as if you just blew it on some crap player. It's even worse. You didn't take a chance on a guy. You just like it. It's the biggest gross mismanagement of assets in fantasy sports. And people are so stingy with their fab. It's not real money. Like, I know I'm a really aggressive fab bidder in all our formats. I'm the guy in football who drops 100 at my full budget on Eli Mitchell in week 1, right?
Worked out.
It worked out. And it's the thing, like some years it doesn't. I blew almost all my fab on Naeem Hines the year before. But like, I think it pays off to be aggressive because at the end of the day, you get the player, you know? And like, I'm not concerned about value. I don't care that Mark DeMellon's out there putting the $0 bid when I just threw half my budget away. Like, I mostly care that I'm the guy who won the player at the end. So that's me getting on my soapbox. I just feel like there's a lot of people who just want to say they got the appropriate value and they don't pay attention to who got the player.
Yeah, I'm definitely in your camp with this one. I just bid 40 on Mackenzie Gore out of a 150 budget. I think I've already spent 55 on my 150 in total, all gross overbids, but I got my guy.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Yeah, Mark does tend to hang on to his budget. I wonder if he's in one of those leagues where you have to pay for acquisitions or something like that, because he always does it. Like in football, he does it too. But that's one great thing about baseball is the different strategies involved. But yeah, I'm definitely more of a use all the bullets you got. They're worthless at the end of the year. It's more fun.
I'd rather use it all in the beginning of the year, because when you add a player early, you potentially have them for the full season, as opposed to waiting for the perfect ad. And like you said, like I can still pick up players later in the season. Like maybe I'm just a slightly handcuffed and it's not that big a deal. So I don't know. That's why I'm a really aggressive fab player.
And this year in baseball, all the prospects are up.
Right.
There's no Ronald Acuna coming down the pike in a month and a half.
Yep.
Bobby Witt's up. Rodriguez is up. Torkelson's up. Mackenzie Gore is now up. Hunter Green's up. So it's personally, I don't see the point of holding on to it, but it's a grind. We got 15 more weeks. So maybe Mark's just waiting for that silver bullet. He did, we can go into this with the draft, but he did kind of go with like the slow play.
Yeah.
Where he took a bunch of injured players. So I'm sure he's got a plan. He always does, but
yeah,
it's interesting. I was shocked nobody bid on Gore. I think he was the number one pitching prospect before last year.
Yeah. I was
Had
shocked
some issues.
There wasn't more bidding either. The next guy was $2. And
All right.
the reason I didn't bid was you said you've used 55 now post Gore. I've used 60 total. So I was like, I got to sit one out here. Like I just had to, you know,
Right.
but yeah, no, I agree with you. I thought it would be way more aggressive bidding than there was.
Yeah, it's a total coin flip. He could go out and get shelled, or he throws 5 shutout innings with 7 Ks and he's in their rotation for the year.
Yeah.
Either way, it's fab. It was free.
Exactly.
And if he stinks, and I cut him and move on. So
it won't be much worse for the wear.
Right. But it's technically a mismanagement, as you put it. But I'd rather, and if you make these aggressive moves, kind of puts everybody else on their heels. So that maybe they overbid on the next guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think, to me, with blind bidding, like the player's worth what he's worth to you. Like even if someone bids less, like you're bidding an amount where like if you bid up to where you're gonna get mad if you don't get them, you know, if that makes any sense.
Exactly.
Like if someone bid 41, you'd be like, I threw my best offer, you know, like what are you gonna do? But if you tried to get away with bidding like 27 or something and he goes for 30, you're just gonna, I mean, you're gonna start steaming for that day. Because you're gonna be like, why did I try to get a value here instead of getting the player?
And that happened to me with somebody. Mark picked up, ironically enough, Mark bid like $9 on somebody that I bid $8 on.
Yeah.
And I was so mad. More mad than I'm going to be if Gore gets shelled and I have to drop him tomorrow.
100%. Yeah.
So that's just the way I view it. But Mark made a savvy move. He's got more fab than me. So in his strategy, it's working. In my strategy, I have this lottery ticket now.
Yeah.
He could be anything. He could be Chris Paddock's rookie year and be a total stud. Or he could be Chris Paddock this year and stink.
Yeah. So, who knows? Well, let's hop into the draft now. And as I'm navigating there, I know you've done a little bit of work. You want to explain for the audience sort of like what you researched?
So 2 things I wanted to do was 1, get into your mind about your draft strategy. And then 2, that'll be quicker. 2, I went through each team and in my own mind, identified their best pick, mix of value and just need and things like that. And their worst pick, overreaches, somebody who just was injured coming in, ignored red flags. And so I can say those, and then you can tell me your thoughts.
All right. Perfect. Well, I'll give you the slight overview on my strategy. My strategy this year was to not go off the reservation a little bit. I think in the past I've just like looked at players and I'm like throwing out a name, Justin Verlander. Oh my, I drafted him ironically enough, but like, oh, that's a big name. I know he's done great. Like I'm going to count on a rebound. Like those are the kind of guys I would gravitate towards. And this year I had the athletics rankings up on the side and I was marking as I went. And I didn't allow myself to move much from the rankings while also trying to like balance my positions a bit. I didn't want to go with a strategy of like, I'm going relief pitchers. I'm going a lot of starting pitching because when I've done that in the past, I've just run into an unbalanced team and I haven't been able to compete. So I tried to keep it balanced and keep it somewhat near ADP to put a competitive roster out was sort of my strategy.
Funny you say that. That's kind of my exact impression of your team, is that it's balanced. There's no real holes. It's not weighted heavily towards any one category.
Yeah.
So it was successful, your strategy, because that's what you got. I actually do like your team. So
I think it's one of the better ones I've put together. I have a few starting pitchers, and Giolito getting hurt definitely hurt me there, but I
rough.
have enough depth to hopefully live through with it. I have some speed. Mondesi at third base. He's already got 3 steals on the
Two
week.
yesterday.
Yeah, which is awesome.
That's what he does.
And I have a few closers I got late. I got lucky with Taylor Rogers, who got traded to the Padres from the Twins. So I had the Twins closer, which is, worth whatever you want to say it's worth. And then going to one of the hotter teams like the Padres was pretty nice too. So
Much better scenario. 3 saves already. Has allowed 1 hit and no walks. So
yeah,
yeah, that was a big win. It's
16th
nice when
round, like for a closer like that. So that's kind of worked. But like you said, I didn't want to have one area where I was just like scrambling to figure out. And if I had one, it was first base. And then Kyle Schwarber just got eligibility. So I feel a lot better there.
I saw you dropped Schwindel,
I
and then
did.
he hit a home run yesterday.
I'm telling you, like a really big strategy is like when I drop guys, pick them up. And then when when Tam picks up players, if you're in another league, immediately pick them up because you're about to ride the wave, baby.
I drafted Rodon in my other league specifically because he was Tam's keeper. He's like the Cy Young front runner already.
I love it.
It's like, hey, I want to ride that Tam magic.
Yeah. I'm hoping to have a little bit more of a keeper option this year. I would say Franmil Reyes. I kind of just got him at value. I didn't really get a whole lot from my keeper this season, but took a little bit of a risk with DeGrom in the 7th. Like post, we knew about the injuries, but under our format, I could keep him in the 3rd next year. And then I also figured if he does come back mid-season, half a season of DeGrom is pretty damn valuable. So if I can get half a season plus the value from the keeper next year, I thought it was worth the 7th rounder.
Right. Plus replacement level. DeGrom's on the IL. So you
Yeah,
get to add somebody and use them. You combine those 3 things.
exactly.
It's a good
Yeah.
pick. Funny you mentioned keepers. I am going to circulate the idea of doing 2 next year.
Ooh.
I want to do it personally, but we'll see.
I could be interested in that. I'm not going to be like a Travers type, not to throw shade, and wait and see if I have 2 good keepers before making a decision. But
Right. I should have done it before the draft, but it's still early.
yeah,
We can make rules or whatever, or I can just say it's 2 keepers. You keep 2 if you want. You don't have to, but we'll see.
So I guess after going through my strategy, you said, who do you think's the best pick? Who do you think's the worst pick? And then we can put a bow on my team and move on to the rest.
So best pick, Javi Baez, 14th round. He was for years going in the top 50.
Yeah.
And he's had some uneven seasons, low batting average, strikes out a lot, and he moved to the Tigers. So he has that kind of Detroit stink on him now. But the 14th round is absurd for how far he fell. This is one thing I noticed with ESPN drafts. I did a few mock drafts, and the standings were a certain way, like the player order.
Yeah.
And then when I got to our draft, random players got pushed so far down. So maybe the ADP swung like crazy that last weekend.
Yeah.
Naturally, it was draft weekend. But I didn't even know Javi Baez was still around when you picked him. I was like, holy shit, he's still here. So that amazing pick. And he got off to a good start in pure Brandon fashion. He got hurt a couple days ago.
Classic.
But yeah, he started off hitting 316, home run, 4 RBIs, and he hasn't played since Tuesday.
That sounds about right. He got the home run against the Red Sox, coincidentally costing
I
them a
know.
game. But
So great pick, dual eligibility, shortstop second. And as an 11th round keeper next year, if he's a 6th round value,
yeah, sure.
especially if we add those, a second keeper, that'd be almost a slam dunk. But
Yeah.
either way, good pick. I thought. Worst pick,
Here we go.
Mondesi.
Oh, yep. 11th
Mondesi.
round.
He was ranked number 335 in the ESPN like ADP. And I
Wow.
saw you reached up for him, which was smart for the category need. And he's provided that 3 steals the first week could win you the category by himself. I haven't looked at your scoreboard yet, but
Yeah, Mark has none and no
I was going to
speed.
say, Mark, yeah, you're playing Mark. He usually doesn't really go for steals. He's more of a just stingers. But with the steals, you get a terrible average. You get the injury prone. And just for comparison, you got Javi Baez in the 14th. So
Yeah.
you probably could have waited on him. I'm looking at the 11th round. There's some good players. Buxton went right after him. Another guy who was weirdly ranked low
Yeah,
and
that
just fell for no reason, even though the talent is there. And then the 12th round, there's a lot of good players, but not a terrible pick, but a reach. I liked your draft, so I had to kind of split hairs here.
you know,
And
it's funny how you point out a lot of difference to ESPN in my rankings or in my draft. It's probably a result of me following the Athletic Football's rankings. Sorry, the not the Athletic Football, the Athletic has fantasy baseball rankings. So like I had two sets of rankings going on at once, which like Mondesi came up higher on the Athletic than he did on ESPN. And I was really following the Athletic. I needed a third baseman too. Like there's like no third baseman at some point. So I was like, all right, speed and third base, I'll go for him. But
now it's dual eligible. So him and
yeah,
Baez cover 3 of your 4 infield spots.
yeah.
Makes
But
things nice.
it is funny
Hate
that
the
that
pick,
goes
but
ahead. All right. Well, let's go on to the next team here. Appreciate the
all
reviews.
right. I guess I'll start with Edwin. Might as well kick it off with Edwin. Best pick, Jazz Chisholm, 21st round. I had him last year, and up until about mid-July, he was probably going to be my keeper. But then he had a terrible end to the season. He hit
Yeah.
like 200, barely stole any bases. But in the 21st round, you can't get higher upside than that. He is off to a great start. Let's see, he's hitting 270, 2 home runs already. Hasn't even stolen bases, and that's a big part of his game. Also dual eligible, second and short. Second base, I think, is probably the weakest position. So that's why I like Baez and now Chisholm.
Yeah.
And he's just a cool player. He's got the
He
cool hair, cool gloves, cool cleats. He's like the all style team. Plus, I like Edwin going for the young players rather than the Madden 11.
yeah,
It's
he's trying to overcorrect after all our commentary, but yeah, Chisholm's a nice power speed guy, which in the infield there aren't many of those guys. Like it wouldn't shock me, like he should at least go 15-15 and like could be a 2020 player.
Yeah, as long as the strikeouts don't kill him and his batting average doesn't crater, he could be good. And that's Edwin's starting second baseman. So
Yeah.
had to be waited till the 21st round and got his guy. Savvy pick. So that one's nice. And then for his worst, I said interesting take, but Aroldis Chapman in the what is that, the 8th round or 9th round?
Looks like the 9th round, 81st pick. So that was the
81
first pick
overall.
of the 9th round.
So first off, it's his 3rd closer. So he picked 3 closers in his top 9 picks. Seems a little unnecessary, excessive.
Yeah.
Secondly,
Reactionary, some would call him in
right,
the draft.
right. And I find that so he has 3 closers in his top 9. So he's like, I'm going to win saves every week. If you don't win saves, then your strategy blows up. So it's kind of like, eh. And then Chapman's on the back 9. He's on the decline. Every year now, it seems he picks up a knee injury or something like that. He's The Yankees aren't as good as people might think. And ultimately, it was his third closer. And if you look at the players who went after him, there's a ton of talent here. Just in that 9th round, Stanton, Bobby Witt, Framber Valdez, Starlin Marte, Brandon Lowe.
Yeah.
So all players I'd rather have than Chapman. So thought it was not a stupid pick or anything, and it was a strategy, but you probably could have waited just like you did, get Taylor Rogers in the 16th round, get the same result.
Yeah. It's tough with closers, and I got lucky with the Rogers trade, but even now, I just picked up 2 setups, like guys who are competing in committees and might become the head closer for their team. Like, there's still guys who are closers in the free agent pool right now, if you want to grab them. They're just not like in great situations, or it's uncertain right now. So I just think that relievers get hurt so much that I've tried to draft them later versus than sooner in the draft.
And I'll get into this with Ollie, spoiler alert, but
Oh,
the days of 50 saves, 55 saves, they're gone. Teams
yeah.
just use too many closers. They keep their guys fresh. They play matchups, analytics, and like you're looking at 30, 35 saves for the top end guys. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd actually be interested to see what Chapman had last year. Watch him have like 40. But and he's been a little shaky. Last night he pitched 0 innings, 3 walks, no outs. So he does have 1 save so far. Let me look at Chapman's stats from last year. Last year, 6 wins, 4 losses, 1.31 whip. Not good.
No.
He had 30 saves. So that's pretty good, but that's your ceiling. So whereas
It
you
is
take
it
Bobby
is
Witt,
tough drafting 3 relievers in the top 100 of the fantasy draft like he did. Chapman, Diaz, and Iglesias. Like, I don't know. There's still so much talent, and he drafted a bunch of starting pitchers. So, he was saying his hitting wasn't so good. It's probably because Guerrero at the first pick, JD Martinez in the 7th was his next hitter.
jeez.
And then Salvador Perez was this third hitter who's a catcher. So I don't know. Like, I think that might be part of the reason his hitting, like, he wasn't so happy with how his hitting came through on the draft.
Does have some good picks in the bottom half. But yeah, it looks like he'll have a weak offense. Vlad is Vlad. He's going to carry his offense, but Cody Bellinger. So, yeah. And I should have prefaced this. I think pretty much everybody's team is good.
10-team league, it's going to
Everybody's
happen.
good. I'm like reaching for some of these worst
Yeah.
picks. It's more like what I like and don't like, what I would have done differently. All right, on to Ollie. Mentioned this before, but Byron Buxton in the, where was that, 11th round, ridiculous value.
Yeah.
He was the MVP frontrunner until May or June of last year when he got hurt. Already has 3 home runs and a steal. There you go. So he's killing it. And as a 8th round keeper next year, he might be worth a 3rd round pick.
I think there's a little bit of, what's the right word here? Like, the word's escaping me, but he was such a high prospect for so long, didn't hit, that I think people are sleeping on him a little bit. Like, they're just tired of the Byron Buxton's going to be the next big thing, blah, blah, blah. And I sort of think that's part of the reason he fell in the draft.
Right. And I think he had a hip injury last year, and hips and backs are my big bugaboos with baseball players. So yeah, great pick, and it's worked out so far. Okay, then for worst pick, I'm gonna repeat myself, but a closer, Josh Hader, 2nd round. I was shocked when he did that. I mean, Hader probably would have gone in the 3rd or 4th anyways, but he picked him 18th overall, I believe, and best closer in baseball, but way too soon for a closer. I mean, yeah, he'll get his 35 saves, he'll pitch 70 innings, But if he had picked Bieber, Nola, Giolito, Kevin Gosman, you're getting maybe 200 innings. You're getting double the strikeouts. You're getting wins, quality starts. So you just cover more categories with the starters. But someone was going to pick him probably in the third or fourth. And I just wouldn't have picked him in the second. That's a little too rich for my blood with a closer. But not investing heavily in closers was one of my key strategies this year. So, and that was the exact opposite of Ollie's. So I get why he did it, but personally wouldn't have done it.
Didn't I have Hader last? I'm looking at my team last year.
Did you?
I must have had him the year before. Yeah, I was gonna say like
He's dominant.
like I had him a couple years ago or the year before, but he didn't make that big an impact for my team to be like a second round pick, you know?
It's just, I mean, closers, maybe they pitch 2-3 times a week. You get 3 innings, and he can go 3 innings, 8 strikeouts or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, this is, so we had 34 saves last year. It's 34 saves on like 70 innings pitched or so. Plus the weight of those innings is naturally less. If you get 75 innings out of Hader and a 2 ERA versus 150 innings out of Shane Bieber and a 2.5 ERA, it's essentially the same thing, plus the strikeout volume. So again, not criticizing, but I just wouldn't have done that.
I think my least favorite on his team is Chris Sale in the 13th round. He's been banged up the last few years. Like, when's the last time Chris Sale was an impact player in fantasy? Like 2018? Like, that's 4 years ago now. Because 19, I drafted him in the first round and he wasn't good. Then he got hurt. He returned last year and was just kind of average. Like, it's been a long time since Chris Sale was like, he was an impact player. And the last time we saw him, 2019, he was showing that he might not be elite anymore. And that's 2019. So like, I don't know. It almost seems like an all name thing in the 13th round that I don't love. And I hope I'm wrong for the sake of the Red Sox, but I sort of think that his best days are behind him.
Let's see who went right around there. A couple of other starters. Yeah. I hope he comes back. I'll end on a positive note for Ollie. Wander Franco, 16th round keeper.
Unfair.
To Ollie's credit, he drafted him late last year and he hung on to him the entire year. I don't think he came up until maybe end of June. So it was a long road waiting for him and it paid off. He's a beast. So
Ollie seems to have one of those guys every draft. He really does. Like, and I feel like if we make it 2 keepers, Ollie's going to have 2 of those guys next year.
Yeah. I think that is why the vote may not pass because people are scared of Ollie and Tam.
Yep.
Like Tam's obviously 1A in our league. And I wouldn't say Ollie's 1B because I don't think he's won a title, but he's just right below Tam in terms of like savvy ownership.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, didn't love the Hader pick, second round. It's like, I don't know, not drafting a tight end in the second round because Kelsey is the man, whatever, but it seemed like a little, probably could have waited, maybe.
You know what's interesting? And I've accused Edwin of this before, where Edwin causes the runs in the draft. He sees someone else do something, complains about it, and then he panics more. If you ask anyone, they would say that Ollie drafted all the relievers early and he caused this panic. But you look at it, Ollie drafted 3 closers in the top 100, the same number drafted by Edwin. So I don't know how he always seems to start something else about what someone else had as a draft strategy. And then when you look back at the stats, Edwin's just as culpable. That's just an observation.
Edwin's not so squeaky clean.
No, never.
But yeah, they both did it. They kind of built their teams almost the same way. Edwin went heavier pitching. and Ollie's kind of relying on late picks and waiver for pitching, but both 3 closers in your top 9 or 10 picks. It's if you win saves every week, it's great, but it might be all you win.
Yep.
I don't know. Plus, Hendricks has looked shaky for Ollie. He's got a 9 ERA. And then Kenley Jansen's like 36 years old. Yeah, he got shelled in his first outing, 3 earned runs. So, yeah, it's just not my cup of tea, but no doubt Ollie will be in the playoffs. So,
Oh yeah,
can't
for
talk too
sure.
much trash.
Or he'll be one game out and raising a stink about some sort of reason he should be in. But we'll move on from that. Who do we have next, John?
Next, Brett, best pick is him stepping up to the plate for us.
Yep.
Travers was going to ghost on the draft, and Brett, because of my own mistakes, didn't get into the league initially. When Crawford said he wasn't in, I was like, all right, I haven't heard from Brett, so I guess those 2 are out. But at least at the 11th hour, Brett stepped in and saved us when we moved the draft to Sunday to accommodate Travers' schedule anyways.
Unbelievable.
So thank you, Brett. You're the man.
You won't say it. You're a more gracious commish than I am, but Travers is the most difficult of these leagues to manage as an owner. He moves the draft date. We accommodate him, and then he's unable to attend the draft date that was moved for him.
Right.
It's tough luck as a commissioner. It's a tough luck. We love you, man, but
I was having a panic attack from 6:30 to 7 or whatever that was on that Sunday night. I'm like, oh my God, somebody's going to auto draft a 10-man league. But Brett stepped up.
Yep.
And he won the league last year. He's a great owner. So in terms of actual pick, Gregory Soto in the 18th round was solid. Just a cheap free closer.
Yeah.
Tigers are better this year. And so I thought that was a good pick. Worst pick for Brett, Max Muncy in the 6th round. He has a torn UCL, I believe.
Ooh.
And he hasn't really done anything to show that he's healthy. He has 1 home run, but he's hitting 143. So 6th round, it just seemed really reachy. And maybe, like you said, it was just ESPN rankings kind of had him there.
Yeah.
Only eligible at second base, which is a position of need, but Justin Verlander went 2 picks later. DeGrom went a few after that. Cedric Mullins went after that. So there's just more talent to be had at that pick. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. It's exposure to the Dodgers lineup.
Yeah. I liked Garrett Whitlock in the 23rd round. I think an interesting thing is we have starting pitcher limits. So if you're looking for a way to get more counting stats, getting a relief pitcher like Whitlock, who we saw the other day come in and pitch 4 innings for the Red Sox, like you're getting a guy who sometimes will pitch starter like innings and doesn't count against your starting limit for the week. So obviously there's a ton of those guys out there in the league, but the ones who are effective, have good ratios, and can get you strikeouts there aren't that many of them. And getting Whitlock in the 23rd round, I think was a savvy move.
It was, especially if they ever stretch him out to be a starter.
Yeah.
Anything. Yep, good call.
He could get a handful of saves too, so.
I will say Travers' keeper was John Means in the 15th round. Already hurt. Forearm tightness. That usually is kind of a death sentence. Tommy John. So we'll see. That would be a tough beat.
Yeah. Well, as we jump over to the next game, I do want to point out for the audience, there's probably a reason we aren't naming team names. The owners in this league seem to go a little bit, it's not PG. So we're going to stick to owner names as a result and not even go into the team names. So in case you're wondering why we're not revealing, it's just like, I don't even feel okay putting it on. Yeah. This is a
kid-friendly podcast.
Show. Exactly. So. Exactly.
They're watching. Yeah. All right. I'll start to go quicker. Don't want to take too much of your time, but
all good. I'm open, so we can keep
next going. Is your boy Mark. Best pick, Kyle Hendricks, 18th round. He was going in the 5th round for years, always provided solid, stable innings, quality starts because he can pitch deep. Not a ton of strikeouts, but for the cost, why not? He did great in his first start. I want to say it was like a 6-inning, 1 earned, 7K. He did get shelled in his second start. So we'll see. But it was an 18th round pick. And if he's a keeper, 14th round, he used to go in the 5th or 6th round. Could be a great pick for Mark. Then worst pick, kind of second guessing this one at this point, but I'm gonna say Fernando Tatis, 8th round.
Not sure when he's coming back.
He could be a 5th round keeper next year. Would be amazing because he's a 1st round value, maybe 1 overall. But broken wrist, that usually saps power.
Yeah.
Wrist injuries are tricky. Ticking time bomb for a shoulder. He's not coming back till at least mid-June, I want to say, because he's 60-day IL, and then probably has to. Or I think he can start his rehab assignment during that. But so you're thinking April, May, June. Just don't even have him, and we do a shorter season, so maybe he'll get a month out of him. That's without re-injury, no setbacks, and no deterioration of his performance. So 8th round, a little greedy considering he went with Acuna in the 2nd, another injury guy. So
that was going to be my commentary. I think you draft one of these guys. Like, even I'm sitting here with DeGrom. I kind of gave you the upside why I like the pick. I still kind of have that taste in my mouth of that's a wasted top 100 if he never plays, but that's one of them. He has Acuna and Tatis. And even though Acuna, the rumor is he's going to go on a rehab assignment soon, you don't know that he's going to be the same player when he comes back. It's first year with an ACL. Is he gonna, like, one of his biggest values is he's 5 tool? Is he gonna steal bags when he has a torn ACL? He might not,
Yeah, that's the point.
So I just think going with 2 of those guys, you just put yourself in a little bit like your hands are tied behind your back.
Plus Jack Flaherty, another injury stash.
Yeah.
Plus Lance McCullers, another injury stash. So already all 4 IL spots done. So you're not leaving yourself. People get hurt. Not leaving yourself any wiggle room there. Not to mention, I don't know if you noticed this, but the last few years of baseball, the rehab stints would take forever. Players would just get hurt. They take 3 weeks at minor league ball before they come back. So there's no guarantee these guys come back smoothly. Yeah. Especially torn ACL, serious injury, broken wrist, bum shoulder for Tatis, serious injury. So again, it could look like a genius pick if Mark's sitting pretty for the playoffs and he gets Tatis back for the stretch run. He could win the league. He's got to get there first, though. And 2 of your first 8 picks being useless for the first month plus. It's presumptuous, I would say.
I like tossing shade at some of these guys, especially Mark and Edwin, so I'm not going to hold back here. As a commissioner in our leagues, I'm always careful with the number of injury spots because Mark loves to stash. And then he'll come back to you and be like, I don't have enough IL spots. And I'm like, listen, Mark, you drafted guys immediately for the IL. That's why you don't have enough. Like, you're not letting your team get hurt and then using the spots. You're drafting the stash. And then, I mean, look at fantasy football real quick. He's got Antonio Brown, doesn't even have a team. He's got Mike Thomas, hasn't played in 2 years. Like, he was going to hold Tom Brady through retirement. It worked out, but it's just funny. He is Mr. Stash, and this draft was a Mr. Stash draft with Jake Flaherty and Acuna and Tatis. So it's just funny. Like, when we're looking at the rules as commissioner in our leagues, I definitely have Mark top of mind when I'm thinking those IL spots because I know right away that he's going to fill every one of them at the draft.
Mhm. Yeah, it's and Mark is such a baseball mind because he's so in tune with like the actual MLB that I wonder if he does things like this because of that.
Yeah.
But like keeping the fab around, like he spends like a real owner who would spend.
Marky ball. He plays marky ball.
Exactly. No, but he's got a great team, so I'm sure he'll be in the playoffs.
The
Which,
Oakland A's are a good comp for him in our league. Like once in a while he makes the playoffs, but he's mostly just fiscally responsible with like an
he's like
average team.
the A's and the Rays, something like that. But his boy Garrett Cole shelled last night or the
Yeah.
other night. Yeah, actually not that bad. 3 or 4 runs, no quality start. Oh well.
He's
All
hanging
right.
on to the Kermit the Frog reference a little long too. You know,
He made it onto Nesson, so he's got to
he's gonna
take the
hold on to
victory
that.
lap
Yeah, this is gonna be his team name for the next 5 seasons.
potentially. Oh wow. Okay. Moving on to Tommy D. Great owner. Wasn't at the Zoom, but that's okay.
I
Ironically
like the
enough,
subtle jab, just like right away. Tommy D wasn't at the Zoom,
like
little
guys, I want to
stab.
catch up. Like, why don't you want to Zoom?
I
But
love it.
oh well. I won't take it personally. Not really. The best pick for Tom, Cedric Mullins. Mullins was almost my keeper at an 11th round value. Couldn't take him over Otani. I love Cedric Mullins. Great player. 30-30 last year. Only player in the majors to do that.
Yeah.
And in the 7th round, even if he does 20-20 with 275 average, that's still well worth it. He's off to a good start. I say he's already hit a home run, already stolen a base. So he's showing that 5 tool really. He's got hits in 3 of his last 4 games. He's striking out a little bit more than you would expect, but he's a lefty, so he's got that platoon advantage over most pitchers. Just a good value pick. I saw on other sites like Yahoo and CBS, he was going 3rd, 4th round. So
Wow.
good pick by Tom. And then worst pick was my other keeper option, Frankie Montas. I had him as a 13th round value as a keeper. So I fudged that one up because he went in the 4th round in our draft. I just, with the A's fire sale and the fact that he might get traded and he's been
Yeah.
inconsistent his entire career, he's going to get no run support until he leaves the A's. And he's just prone to blowups, which he had a blow up in his first start, 5 earned runs. Did very well in his second start. He got a quality start and a win. So that's what you get with Montas. But down the stretch last season, he was completely dominant. So not terrible, but I probably wouldn't have taken him to like the 6th or 7th round. Guys who went after him, Yu Darvish, Max Fried, Musgrove, Manaya, a lot of good hitters. So, but he probably just saw that pitcher run coming and didn't want to miss it.
Yeah.
I don't hate the pick. Just probably his worst, I would say.
The one guy I'll question is German Marquez. And this is partly a joke. I have no idea if it was good value, but he's a common streamer in our leagues the last few seasons. So
Mhm.
seeing a guy who's typically a streamer going in the 15th round, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, is this the Mike Folty Newich of this year?
Yeah,
You
he's
know,
the
like,
faulty.
yeah.
He just, I mean, it stinks. The Rockies just ruin pitchers. I mean, he pitched really well, 7 innings, 1 run,
Yeah.
but he'll get blown up next start. So, yeah, I thought that's decent. If that could be his keeper, if he's a beast. But another solid draft by Tom. He snagged Walker Bueller in the 1st round before I could. He got Trout in the 2nd round, which is amazing. So my backup pick for bad pick, worst pick, was Arenado in the 3rd. He's just on the decline,
Yeah.
but he's got 3 home runs already. So maybe the
Could work
decline's
out.
not there yet.
I know it was a reach at the time, so he maybe could have gotten better value there.
I think you said it. Third base is kind of weak.
Yeah.
So that might have had something to do with it.
Mhm.
All right. That's it for Tom.
Show up to the draft next year.
Yeah,
Show up to the
draft.
Zoom.
I'm gonna skip someone for now. John great addition to the league a few years ago. This might be his third year in the league. Great addition. Very
Sneakily a
savvy
shark.
runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a shark. He's got some Josh Brown tendencies. he drafted in front of me and snagged like 3 or 4 guys I really wanted. So touche to him. One of them, Seiya Suzuki, the Nippon Professional Baseball League star, now on the Cubs. Got him in the 12th round. And based on his skill set, power, speed, good average, plate discipline, good fielder, he probably should have gone in the 7th or 8th round. But it's always hard to project those like Korean baseball, Japanese baseball, the imports. You just never know how they're going to adapt. So he's adapting very well. 3 home runs, hitting 370. He's a beast. I would love to have him on my team. Could be a good keeper next year. Great pick by John. Worst pick, tough. As I said, he stole a lot of my players. I'll say Hyunjin Ryu, 13th round. He's been a good pitcher, but it kind of seems like the wheels have fallen off. He's stunk the last 2.5 years. He got, let's see, he has a hamstring injury already. He let up 6 runs in 3 innings in his first start. So it seems like he might just be done, maybe not a factor. And the 13th round sounds late, but there's 24 rounds in our draft. So you're still building the top half of your team. And like you said, with that sale pick, a 13th round pick can be a bad pick in this deep of a league.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe he'll be a useful starter. Maybe not. But I thought he could have done a little better there. Logan Gilbert went after that. A couple good closers. Kopech went later. So you got Javi Baez after that. So not terrible, but I didn't really like it. All right. Next.
Couple picks I want to highlight. He drafted Kike Hernandez in the 15th round and proceeded to release him. Then I spent what, $17. So kind of tough to release a 15th rounder midway through the first week on performance. He's also eligible at outfield and second, which is helpful. So I was a little surprised there.
Who did he pick up? Let's see. What is he? He is the flexing on the haters. Stephen Kwan, who's like a early season hype pick. So we'll see. Could work out.
Tough to release a 15th round pick, top 150 player already. And then Matt Barnes in the 17th round. Again, we're digging deep. It's a 10-team league, but Barnes wasn't even really the clear closer for Boston. They've been using Diekman. Whitlock got a 4 out. They've brought in Robles a couple times. So, like, I don't know if Barnes is ever going to get back to what he was at the start of last season. And if you compare Matt Barnes as a 17th round pick, and I've bragged about this whole podcast, but to Taylor Rogers on my team as a 16th pick, like you're talking a big disparity there. And I just think the 17th round is a little early for a guy in Barnes who just hasn't been the same pitcher since the first half of last year.
Agreed. Brett got Gregory Soto in the 18th. I got Camilo Duvall, who might be the Giants closer, at least timeshare, in the 18th. So agreed. Barnes looks kind of washed. We'll see. Okay, what do we got? I think Rob Sullivan, former champ, emphasis on former.
Yeah, he was a back-to-back, and he really hasn't done anything since. He's been
he bought the ring.
Yeah.
In the belt. No, touche.
He has a ring and a belt. So he definitely is likes to advertise his success. Look, I mean, I've only made the playoffs twice, I feel like, so I can't, trash him too much, but been a little bit of a quiet run for him lately. Subject of the playoff controversy with
he's
Ollie
the
a couple of years ago
starting
too.
pitcher limit.
Yeah. I think you went on mute, John, as well. Oh,
Yeah. Sorry. Can you hear the background noise?
I can't. No.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was the starting pitcher limit gate offender. Last week of the season, broke the start limit because ESPN can't really enforce it. Tons of drama. I think we let him in the playoffs because he would have won the matchup anyways. But Ollie put up a big stink about that. And it's just fair. He broke the rules. But
Yeah.
I think we kind of let him skate on that one. It's a weird rule. Thanks, Edwin. But no, it's a good rule. It just stinks that you can't really enforce it. Honor system. There's no honor among thieves. So, but all right, Rob's team, best pick. Zach Plesac, 22nd round. This guy was going in the 4th and 5th round last year. Big strikeout stuff. He's kind of that next Cleveland Indians, like Mike Clevenger, Corey Kluber type. And that's pretty much free out of a 24-round pick. He threw 5 2/3 scoreless inning in his first start. Looks like he could be a stud. So good pick by Rob. Rob, he's sneaky, a very good keeper manager. Every year he has very good keepers. This year, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was
Robbie Ray.
Robbie Ray in the 10th round, Cy Young winner, 10th round. The year before that, it was Shane Bieber. Might have been coming off of his Cy Young season. So Rob is sneaky, a really good keeper. He's got a knack for identifying them. Okay, going to worst pick, Jose Barrios, 3rd round. Skill-wise, he does not belong in the 3rd round. He's not a big strikeout guy. He typically gives you a lot of innings, plays on a good team, but he just is so prone to blow-ups and short outings. Case in point, his first outing, he didn't even make it out of the 1st inning. Second outing, 5 innings, 3 earned. He only has 5 strikeouts in those 2 starts, given one of them was less than an inning. But it was really just like a reach, not a reach, but you're kind of drafting for wins.
Yeah.
In that case, and you can't predict wins. He's not nearly as good as the other pitchers who went in the 3rd and 4th round. So, and it hasn't worked out. So maybe this will be my worst pick call. All right.
I didn't love Lord's Goriel in the 12th too. I had him last year and he was really disappointing. And it's not like he's like he's more of a balanced player. So like even when he's at his best, he's not like winning you any category. So to me, after a disappointing season last year, as the guy who lived through it, 12th round was a little rich for my blood.
We'll see. I don't think he's really done anything so far. Let's see, what's his stat line?
192 average, 3 RBIs, no home runs, no stolen bases. This is the guy I remember.
That stretch he had, Anthony Rizzo, Lourdes Gurriel, and Michael Brantley. That's like a pretty tough stretch right there. Looks like he was just trying to fill out his outfield.
Yeah.
Did kind of stack the Blue Jays outfield with Teoscar Hernandez, Lourdes Gurriel. So maybe he kind of did that on purpose to get the same lineup exposure. But oh well.
At least he can throw on the South Park. I am Lord, 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 Lord.
Oh Lord. Classic. All right. Let's get to I'll save the dynasty for last. We'll do my team. So initially, I guess this would be more appropriate if you did it, but I'll give you my opinion quick. Initially, I thought Julio Rodriguez, 20th round. We drafted before we knew he was being called up for opening day. And he's theoretically the next Ronald Acuna. He was killing it in spring training, almost hit for the cycle. Unfortunately, he's pulling his best Jared Kelenic impression. It sucks so far. He is like 1 for 21, 2 for 21. He has 2 steals, so he's giving me a little bit of value there. But he looks overmatched, striking out left and right. So that was initially going to be my best pick, but that's kind of looking terrible. So I guess I'll say George Springer, the 8th round. When healthy, He's third round bat. I was happy to get him in the 8th round, and he is hitting 323 with 2 home runs and a steal so far. So very happy with that. Worst pick, Steven Strasberg, 24th round. I tried to pull a mark where I knew he had thoracic outlet surgery, which apparently now is like worse than Tommy John.
Wow.
But I was like, 24th pick, stash him. If he recovers for next year, he can be my 20th pick. The guy used to be a 3rd, 4th round pitcher, ace. And so I wanted to stash him, but he didn't go on the IL until opening day, 4 days later. I had planned to stash him and take Hunter Green as a free agent. That was my plan. Next day, Tam swoops in, takes Hunter Green. I'm sitting there with Steven Strasberg, who probably won't do anything this year. Yeah. When I should have just taken Hunter Green in the 24th. And at the time, we didn't know that he was making the opening day roster. I think the next day we found out that he was going to be in their rotation, Hunter Green.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, tried to get cute, pull a mark, totally blew up in my face. And Tam now has a star pitcher. I mean, nobody can capitalize on mistakes quite like Tam can. He's just such a genius when it comes to that. It's so frustrating. But so I guess, yeah, if you agree with those or disagree.
So what I like best about your team, Shohei Ohtani, even though like your keeper's in the 4th round, that was a guy I think Edwin was going to go with the first pick. So I think you got a lot of value there, and the dual eligibility really helps pitcher and hitter. So like, awesome keeper. I thought Pete Alonso was a sneaky 3rd round pick. A lot of power. I think he was earlier last year, if I'm not mistaken, too. Might have been your keeper last year.
He was my keeper's rookie year, 18th round keeper.
That's awesome.
Best keeper I'll ever have.
And first base, the corner infield spots are pretty thin. So I thought Alonso is a good pick. Really like that. And then Brandon Lau in the 9th. That's another one I thought was a savvy move. Really good player. So you gotta love the Brandons out there. Mm-hmm. And I was gonna point out the Strasberg and the Hunter Green situation is probably your biggest mistake, being that Hunter Green is a 24th round, would have been a 20th round keeper. Like, it's almost like the fifth year option in the NFL. When you draft a guy, you get a benefit from it for drafting him. So that might have been a miss.
A big learning point.
But it does kind of remind you, remember, I was in college at the time. So whatever year it was, the Nationals made the playoffs and they benched Steven Strasberg to preserve his future. And it's like, I remember at the time, I was like, why are you doing this? You're preserving the future, but you could win a championship now. So like, he never really became the pitcher that they thought he was going to become. So I still think that's one of the worst decisions of all time. That was like peak. We're going to baby starting pitchers. Like, we're not going to overwork them. Yeah. And everything. Man, I don't know what you saved them for. Like, that was a chance to win the World Series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had that one dominant year when they did win the World Series. He was on my team. So maybe that kind of subconsciously played into it, because he was my ace that year. I loved him. Yeah. But he hasn't done anything since. So that's probably a wasted pick for me when I could have Hunter Green. And I could have just waited for somebody else to get hurt, pick up Strasburg off waivers, stash him.
Yeah.
Oh, and yeah, pretty poor move by me. It was just stupid. Maybe I was just fatigued from the draft. It was the last round.
That's the word I was looking for with Buxton earlier. Fatigue. People are fatigued with him because he was supposed to be this big prospect years ago, never hit, and now he's hitting, and people are like, "Oh, Buxton, he's disappointed me every single year." And I tried to get him before, so I think there's definitely some fatigue with him.
I feel like everybody's owned him at one point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mostly disappointed everybody.
Right.
He's the king of running into the outfield wall, breaking a rib.
Yeah.
But
really is.
I think it was Buxton and Jock Peterson were the same rookie class, both supposed to be studs.
Yeah.
Both have been okay, but oh well. All right. Let's oh, sorry.
Have we missed anyone other than Tam? Tam.
Saving Tam for last because he's the GOAT.
And for anyone out there who might not be a member of the league, we call him the Dynasty because he won not one, not two, but 3 seasons in a row. Last season broke the streak, and he was still,
Top
I think he
four.
was like top four, right? Second round of the playoffs and almost made it to the
Yeah.
finals again. Like, he does not know how to make a misstep in this league.
It's Midas touch. Everything he does seems to work out. And there's no like real clear strategy. So it's not like you can copy it. It's just kind of a mix of, he's definitely aggressive with waivers, which is smart. And he's very good at capitalizing on other people's mistakes. So maybe that's what it is. Like he can just identify when somebody fucked up. And he's just like, boom, got you now.
Right.
But I mean, obviously it's fantasy. Like but he just somehow does it every year in and year out. Death, taxes, Tam being in the top 4 of every fantasy baseball league. So caps off to him. Someday maybe he'll tell us the secrets.
Yep.
But yes, the Tam dynasty is ruthless and unforgiving.
Very unforgiving.
So, okay. Had a lot of options here for best pick. Aaron Ashby in the 23rd round. I really like that pick. He was one of my sleepers. He's kind of the next Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff from the Brewers.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually he started in the bullpen, making his first start tomorrow or this weekend. But big strikeout guy, everything like that. I think he's pitched 1 2/3 innings and has 5 Ks already. So good pick. Another good pick by Tam, Matt Chapman in the 15th round. He's been terrible for the last year and a half or so, but he was injured. Before that, he was a 40 home run guy. It's cheap exposure to the Blue Jays lineup and third base position of need. Good pick by Tam. And then Pablo Lopez in the 13th round, another good pick. And not free agent for this podcast, but he picked up Hunter Green and Jeremy Pena, probably the best 2 early season waiver pickups.
Yeah.
So
back-to-back days too.
That's what Tam does. He just
capitalizes on mistakes.
Chris Kyle, American Sniper, just waiting for us.
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's Tam. And then worst, I'll never presume to know more about fantasy baseball than Tam, but the Zach Wheeler pick in the 4th round seemed a little rich. He was hurt all off season, shoulder issues. Really only have 1 good year of dominance, which was last year, I think, or the year before. But he has made a start, I think yesterday maybe. So it could work out. Just seemed a little aggressive given the injury concerns. And the Eagles have a small ballpark. Oh my God. The Eagles, the Phillies.
Yeah.
The Phillies have a small
I'm
ballpark,
glad that one will be
terrible
safe.
defense. And just so yeah, it wasn't like a bad pick, but I had to pick something.
Another fatigue type player, because Wheeler, he came up around the same time as Matt Harvey, or at least was a prospect around the same time.
Mets trio.
Yeah. And like he never really did what like lived up to his potential with the Mets. So now with the Phillies or the Eagles, he's definitely taken a step forward. And 4th round, like you said, a little rich.
Tam has Kershaw. I just saw that.
Yeah.
He already has a no-hitter. Last year, I think Tam had 3 no-hitters on his team, and he already has 1 this year.
Yeah.
Not just a no-hitter, a perfect 7-inning game.
From a player that like has been consistently on the decline lately.
Yeah. He wasn't even signed until February, or maybe even after the lockout ended.
Right. I think my second question, and this might have come up during the draft, you'd have to ask Tam, but Lance Lynn in the 7th round, he's not supposed to really even start working on a mound until May. And I don't know if Tam was aware of that during the draft. He mentioned something about it coming up after, so I could be completely mistaken, but I got DeGrom 5 picks earlier, and like at least DeGrom is higher upside than a Lance Lynn, who's kind of like a solid starter, you know. So I think 7th round was a little rich for Lance Lynn, but wait for him to be a Cy Young candidate when he returns and plays a partial season.
That was another one that I copied Tam in my other draft.
Well, that was the problem. You jumped in. You probably drafted right after, then the day-to-day tag popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give credit where it's due. Tam is a savant. He's the best owner in the league. No one can even remotely challenge that. I don't know how he does it. It's an enigma.
It really is.
So,
well,
that is all I had.
Well, we made it. Definitely appreciate you going through. Hope people enjoyed. I know both of us have not done the write-ups at the frequency we used to do them, so I'm hoping we can do a couple of these podcasts to help counterbalance that. But welcome everyone to another league. It's another year of this league. It's gonna be competitive. It's a battle. It's a war of attrition, and we're in it. So, Commissioner, thank you for joining today. You can hang on a little bit afterwards, but to our audience, we'll hopefully catch you in a little bit with another episode.
Thanks, Brando.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next time.